As I've been writing my debut novel, I have recently been really wanting to write my own version of the Warrior Cat series, which, if you don't know what that series is, it was written by Aaron Hunter, and it is a series that is, I think, very long, like 24 books when I read it, and it's longer now. And it was about this cat who was a house cat. It was a middle grade novel, so bear with me. It was a house cat that basically like escaped their owners, went into the wild like woods near their owner's house, and joined this whole like deeply curated society of other wild cats. So basically, he joins this society of cats, rises through the ranks, and learns he's part of this prophecy, and then basically becomes their leader. And then the next part of the series, they follow his children and the main enemy's child, who then eventually fall in love, yada, yada, yada. The series is really in-depth. It follows several different cats. Cats are all the main characters. They all talk to each other. There's no humans really involved. And this series for me, like as I was growing up, was really instrumental in like escapism for me because I was bullied a lot in middle school, and I just found that series to be like really engaging and really fun and just easy to just make reality melt away. So now that I'm actually like able to write my own novel, write my own books. I have the skills now. I've written a romantasy, which you don't know is called The Womb of the Earth. And it is currently in the editing stage right now. But I really hate editing. I really hate self-editing with a passion. So I am dabbling in other novel ideas that are more exciting to me and more fun than editing. So that's kind of why I'm talking about the Warrior series, because I really just don't enjoy editing and I want to pick up a new idea. And I have two other works in progress right now too, but I've never written a middle grade novel before, and I'd really like to. I do understand that middle grade has less focus on the self, which as I was doing research on it, doesn't appeal to me as much now as an adult reader, but I can see why for like a young reader it'd be more about discovery and interpersonal stuff and sort of societal aspects. One of the things that I really enjoyed about these books though, that there are much shorter books. That's pretty standard for middle grade, and you can really like get through them. Like while it is 24 books in the series, the full series itself isn't, like, it's not that long. The books themselves are like maybe 200, 300 pages. Like the long ones were 300 pages. And even though these were short books, they really had expansive lore that the series was able to like really go into detail on, and it really was a world away for me as a kid, and I just really want to like create that for some other kids now. This kind of is coming up for me just because I'm also looking into substitute teaching, which kind of goes along with me wanting to teach younger grades, wanting to have something to connect with them. It really inspired my love of animals and my dream of owning my own cats. And now that I have my own cats, which has been such a joy, I do really want to base my characters off of my own animals. So I have two cats. I have Medley, who is my younger girl. She's an orange tabby. She's also a Devon Rex. She's also very like prey driven. She's very spunky and silly. Like she will just kind of be lovey-dovey and then will randomly bite me. And I kind of like that spicy kind of redhead vibe from her. Then I have Rory, or Rorschach, who is my older, he's a year and a half years old. He's black and white. And he's more mellow, chill. Like when me and my partner, when we like speak for them, he's got this kind of chill, kind of gangster vibe to him. Like he's very nonchalant, and I feel like it could be fun to do sort of either like a short story or even just calling it a short story, maybe developing it into a middle grade book because they are like 20 to 50,000 words, which is a lot shorter than your standard adult novel. Um, and trying to develop that into something that I can publish. Um, I really want to provide that escape for others. I really enjoy that aspect of reading. I've been in such a reading slump lately. It has been really hard for me to feel that feeling of having reality melt away and just like being part of another world. You know, like it's just been so hard for me to get into any book, really. And I think that this could be more fun for me, I think, to write than to read at this point. And then another note I had is just that Warrior series was gender neutral. So while I was reading it as a girl, I knew a lot of boys who had read it as well, and it wasn't something that was just girls reading it. Like Fourth Wing is kind of just like young women. It's not really, men aren't really interested in that as far as I've seen, you know, or like just like boy books, right? Like, you know, there's kind of this division where you can read anything you want, right? But there's certain genres, like there's certain genres that people gravitate to more. And as you start becoming an author and you start writing, you kind of narrow down who your target audience is, and you realize, well, yes, anybody can read any book. There's this obvious target audiences in certain genres. You know, like I feel like the Star Wars paperbacks, which is something my partner's really into reading, they are very much targeted towards men. Like I have absolutely no interest in reading those, like not even slightly. But you have like ACOTAR or Fourth Wing, and like, are men reading it because they're really into it, or are they reading it like because, I don't know, their partner told them to, or they just want to see what's up, and not necessarily because that's like their holy grail book. You know what I mean? I did really want to ramble about like author lifestyle content and like maybe getting into vlogging. Um, I want to make more write with me content if people are interested in that. I find that there's a lot of focus to be had and like drive to be gained and motivation to be gained from writing with other people. And I have a hard time writing with my friends in person because all I want to do is talk to them. But with like doing like lives or like writing with people on Discord, just kind of updating progress and stuff like that, it's so much easier to have that accountability of like, I want to reach a certain goal when you are telling other people. So I started out writing my first novel as a pantser, which if you don't know what a pantser is, it's like someone who doesn't plot. They just write based on purely vibes. They kind of just go with the flow and just start writing with no plan. And the more I've been writing, the more of a plotter I've become. Now that I am writing more and creating more content and doing this more creative side of things, I much prefer plotting, but I don't plot like I don't plot really detailed. When I'm plotting out my novel and like I'm trying to figure out a novel idea, like a start, like say I have this idea, for example, this like Warrior Cats kind of lookalike idea, I would start with a Microsoft Word doc. That's my, what's it called? Program of choice. I typically will start by putting a few details about my main characters and a few details about the world, and then I'll start plotting right away the basic idea of where I want to go from my initial idea. Usually I have like an initial scene that I want to do, and I go from there. And I will plot chronologically, and I will write chronologically. I know there's plenty of authors who don't, but I find it's easier to stay in character and to stay on track if I am writing in order, like in chronological order. Um, So yeah, I will usually do a few bullet points for each chapter of like what like major points I want to hit in each chapter. So for example, I'm working on this like Jane Austen times like witchy, cozy vibes, like kind of romanticy, but it's not really about the fantasy. It is a contemporary romance, but like, or I guess a historical romance, but like set in a fantasy setting, not set in like a time period that exists or a place that really exists. But I don't want the focus on this novel to be on the setting, the plot, the like fantasy aspect. It's just they're in a fantasy land instead of like in reality, basically. Because it was not something I wanted to do where I wanted to really research like what past time I wanted them to be in and historical aspects. That doesn't really appeal to me. So for this one, I have plotted out several chapters, and now as I'm writing each chapter, I will free write as much as I want, and then as soon as I start to lose steam, I'll then start referring back to my plot and seeing what points I hit just on my own and what points I'm like still missing, and I will then go through and I will add those in. A lot of times my free writing ends up pushing the plot further back, or I'll hit points like later than I thought I would. Or if I follow my draft plot too like closely, I'll end up hitting those points a lot sooner than I like kind of intended or expected to. Um, so as I start to write, I'll usually read the first like few paragraphs I wrote last and like have a general idea of what the plot points I want to hit, and then I'll just kind of go from there and kind of find my way and pants it from there. And that really worked for me. That was how I finished my first novel. That's how I started this second novel, this Jane Austen inspired novel. It's how I intend to start writing it, like for each novel. It really works for me. So that has been really beneficial as like a process that works. Now everybody's process is different. So if that doesn't work for you, it's like it's not expected or normal to have one process work for every person and every writer.